Okay, I want to read something to you that I wrote recently. It was a voiceover for a reel that I posted, and I want you to just sit with it for a second. And maybe you will hear what I'm about to say and it will sound familiar and you'll know exactly what I was talking about. But it said this: it was never really about what time he would be home. By the time you asked, you'd already done the mental math. You already knew the question wasn't hope, it was habit. And I was cleaning up the kitchen. It was late. He wasn't home, and I just decided to film it. Because I know that some of you would watch that and feel something that you've never quite had words for. And a lot of you did. Now, here's the problem. There is a problem with a reel or a post performing really well, and that is that it starts showing your content to people who are not your people. And those people, they have a lot of opinions. And so here are two that came in. And the first one said, and I'm quoting directly, "He can also be home at 3 p.m. and bring home $40,000. Please." The second one was from a female physician, and she said, "What's with all the whining? Your spouse is working so you can clean your beautiful kitchen on Instagram for everyone to see." As a female physician, this is such an eye roll moment. And I sat with those for a moment, and then I thought, you know what? They're right. I have clearly not been following the rules, and neither have a lot of you. So today I'm going to fix that. Today, as a public service to every physician spouse who has been out here just saying things and feeling things like she's allowed to, I'm going to lay out the official rules so we can all get back in line. You're welcome. Welcome back to Supporting Physician Spouses. I am your host, Kendra Harvey. This is the place where we talk honestly about what it actually looks like to be married to a physician. The hard parts, the invisible parts, the parts that nobody outside of this life really understands. And if you are new here, welcome. You found your people. And if you have been here for a while, you already know that we don't do surface level around here. Today is no exception. Pull up a chair. Now, before we get into the rules, I want to stay with these two comments for just a second because I think they deserve a little more airtime. The first one, the $40,000 comment, that one is basically covering rules 1 through 9 that we're going to talk about today, compressed into a single sentence. What it is saying is you have money, or you will have money, or you have the potential to have money, and that cancels out whatever you were feeling. It is the fastest possible way to tell someone that their experience has a price tag. And once that number is high enough, the experience no longer counts. The second one is more interesting to me because it didn't come from someone who doesn't understand this world. It came from someone who is very much inside it, a female physician, someone who has also paid an enormous price to be where she is. And I want to be really careful here because I have a lot of respect for female physicians. The path they walk is its own kind of hard. But what that comment did, whether it was meant to or not, was enforce a pecking order. It said, I outrank you, and your feelings are an eye roll moment to me. And I think that's worth noting, that neither of these two people invented these rules. They didn't sit down and decide to be unkind or ungenerous. They just repeated something that already exists, something that is so baked into the culture around physician families that most people don't even notice they're doing it. But you notice, don't you? You've been on the receiving end of some version of both of these comments. Maybe not in your Instagram feed, maybe at a social gathering, maybe from a friend or family member, maybe from a voice inside your own head that sounds suspiciously like everyone who ever told you to shut up and be grateful. And before we get into the full list of rules, I want to acknowledge something else. Right now, there is a whole group of women whose husbands just graduated from medical school, women whose husbands are crossing over from residency into attending life, women who are standing at the threshold of everything they were told they were working for, finally exhaling for the first time in years, waiting to feel the relief that was promised. This episode is for entertainment purposes only, but that doesn't mean the rules aren't real. So, the rules. There are 30 of them, and I have grouped them into 5 categories. We're going to be covering the official guidelines on speaking and visibility, on money and what you have, on identity and worth, on the emotional load, and finally, on the pecking order. Let's get into them. Okay, on speaking and visibility, rule number 1, be like a child, seen and not heard. And actually, let's update that one, because if the last week has taught me anything, being seen at all might be a little ambitious. Showing up on social media, talking about your life, filming yourself cleaning your kitchen at the end of a long day, that's apparently a target. So let's revise rule number 1 to simply don't be seen. Stay small, stay quiet, stay off the internet. We'll all have a much easier time. Rule number 2, do not speak or voice your opinion unless asked. And just so we're clear, no one is going to ask. Rule number 3, absolutely no complaining. If you must speak, it should be gratitude only. And if you must do more than express gratitude, your words should be in service of the less fortunate, which, for the record, is everyone you will ever talk to. Everyone around you sees themselves as less fortunate than you, whether or not that is actually true. And because they are less fortunate than you, they are entitled to your generosity, your time, your energy, your resources, your emotional availability. All of it is fair game because you have more. You always have more. So speak gratitude, serve others, and remember that your own cup is not a factor in this equation. They don't care about you. And here's the part that stings a little. They don't want you to care about you either. A woman who has some boundaries, who takes care of herself, that's a woman who may have less to give to you. And that's inconvenient for everyone who's gotten used to being on the receiving end of you. Rule number 4, remember that somebody always has it worse. This one is available for use in any situation, at any time, for any feeling you might be tempted to express out loud. Somebody always has it worse, so file your feelings accordingly. Rule number 5, when someone replies with "at least," that is your cue. That is the bell. Stop talking immediately. Retreat. At least he has a good job. At least you don't have to work. At least, full stop. That's it. That's the end of the conversation. Rule number 6, whatever you do, do not engage. Not with the comment, not with the eye roll. And while we're here, remember your role. You are always the villain in this story, never the victim, never the one who is tired or lonely or carrying something heavy. The villain. Keep that straight. All right, moving on to money and potential. So rule number 7, if your household has the potential to earn above the median U.S. salary, keep your mouth shut about everything forever. The potential alone is enough to disqualify your feelings. You don't even have to have money yet. The possibility of it is sufficient grounds for silence. Rule number 8, do not post your home. Do not post your vacation. Do not post anything expensive you own. It doesn't matter how you got it. It does not matter what it cost you to get there. The fact that you have it is going to upset someone because they equate what you have with their enormous hospital bill. So put the phone down or refer back to rule number 1 and simply stop being visible altogether. Rule number 9, on vacations, road trip, post away. Camping, even better, post all of it. Europe, keep that quiet. The 4 seasons, Put your phone away. People want their doctor to be humble. You can do the fancy things. No show and tell. Rule number 10. You are allowed to have a nice car, but not too nice, and definitely not too many. One car is a success story. Two nice cars is a lifestyle, and anything beyond that, and people are going to start wondering what the pharmaceutical companies have gotten to you about. So keep it reasonable, keep it humble, keep it to one. Rule number 11. Yes, you moved 5 times in 8 years. Yes, you went without a paycheck for a decade. Yes, you managed children through residency on wages that barely covered groceries. But you have a nice house now, so let's call it even. Rule number 12. Complaining about money during training is allowed. Barely, but it is allowed. Complaining about anything after training is not. You cashed in. The statute of limitations on your hard years expired the moment the salary arrived. Rule number 13. Once that salary arrives, the student loans, the McDonald's wages, the Miss Milestones, and the years of putting yourself last, none of it happened. You are not allowed to reference it. You made it. Gratitude only. Go back and see rule number 3. Rule number 14. Your sacrifices were a choice. You chose this. Stop bringing it up. Nobody asked you to move. Nobody asked you to pause your career. Nobody asked you to hold everything together for a decade while your husband became a physician. You chose it. So whatever you gave up in the process, that's on you. Rule number 15. You didn't earn any of this. That poor man worked so hard, and what do? You spend his money and live in luxury? It doesn't matter that you met your husband before either of you knew what a medical school was. And the future, you must have seen it coming. Clearly, you knew. Gold digger. All right. We're halfway through. Now, moving on to identity and worth. Rule number 16. Your name is optional. Your husband's name and title is not. At any social function, any dinner party, any hospital event, really that's all they care about. So your name can come later or not at all. Either way, you'll probably be referred to as Dr. So-and-so's wife. Rule number 17. If someone asks you what you do and you say, I'm a stay-at-home mom, prepare yourself. The conversation is about to end, not rudely, just completely. There will be a small nod, a polite smile, and then they will turn to literally anybody else in the room. This is not personal. You just stopped being interesting when you stopped working. So move on. Or get a job, I guess, and be interesting again. Rule number 18. Your opinion on healthcare, hospital systems, medicine, or anything adjacent to the world your husband operates in is not welcome. You didn't go to medical school. It doesn't matter that you've lived inside this world for a dozen years. It doesn't matter that you have opinions that are informed and valid. You didn't go to medical school, so... Rule number 19. If you do work, you are taking employment away from someone who actually needs it. If you don't work, you are lazy, slothful, uneducated, and not fit for society. There is no version of you that gets this right. There is no door that doesn't have something waiting on the other side of it to tell you that you chose wrong. Rule number 20. Raising children, managing a household, and holding the entire emotional infrastructure of your family together, that's not a job. It's what you signed up for. So please don't refer to it as work. Please do not calculate what it would cost to replace you. Please do not bring up the mental load, the invisible labor, or the fact that you have not had a sick day in 11 years. You signed up for this. Suck it up, buttercup. Moving on to the emotional load, we're at rule number 21. If you feel lonely, that is a you problem. He is saving lives. Those two things exist in the same sentence, and the second one cancels out the first one every single time. Lonely is not a medical emergency. Saving lives is. So adjust your feelings accordingly. Rule number 22. Missing your husband is sweet. It really is. Say it once and it's enduring. Say it more than once and it's needy. You have low self-esteem. You knew what you were signing up for. Missing him out loud, repeatedly, to anyone who will listen is not a good look. Keep it to yourself. Rule number 23. If you ever feel resentful, refer back to rule number 4. Sit there until resentment passes. It will pass. And if it doesn't pass, that is still not something we need to discuss out loud. Rule number 24. Checking in on other people is your job. Being checked on is not on anyone's list. If you need support, see rule number 3. And if you need more than that, see a therapist. Quietly. And don't make it a whole thing. Rule number 25. If you are struggling, choose your audience very carefully. Other physician spouses will understand. They will nod and they will mean it, and you will feel less alone for at least a few minutes. Most everyone else will remind you how lucky you are. So choose wisely. And maybe just don't bring it up at all. Rule number 26. Rest is available to people who have earned it. And the jury is still out on you. All right, we've made it to the pecking order. We're almost done. Rule number 27. In a room full of physicians, if you are not yourself a physician, you are decor. You are not a participant in the conversation. You are not a contributor to the room. You are an aesthetic choice your husband made. Look nice. Stand nearby. Do not speak unless spoken to. See rule number 1. Rule number 28. If you are in the presence of a female physician, remember where you stand. She has earned her place in that room in ways that are real and significant and worth respecting. The problem isn't her. The problem is being reminded of the pecking order when you were just trying to have a conversation. But those are the rules. She outranks you. Adjust accordingly. Rule number 29. If your marriage is good, if you're actually happy, if you and your husband have built something real together through all of it, don't be naive. He's probably already cheating on you with a nurse at the hospital. That is just what people will assume. A physician husband who works long hours and a wife at home who can't possibly understand his world. You do the math. Rule number 30. Finally, if you are a stay-at-home mother married to a physician, you are at the bottom of this particular list. You don't have a career. You don't have a title. You don't have a paycheck. You have a husband with a specialty and a kitchen that apparently upsets people on the internet. You are, for all intents and purposes, the least important person in every room you walk into. So, to summarize, you are a gold digger who saw it coming in kindergarten. You are probably being cheated on. You had the audacity to film your kitchen, and you suffer from low self-esteem and probably need to see a therapist. Those are the rules. Okay, I'm going to drop the script for just a minute here because those rules, I wrote them as a joke, sort of. I wrote them because sometimes the only way to say something true is to say it sideways first, to wrap it in enough humor that it doesn't knock you flat before you've had a chance to hear it. But here's what I want to actually say. Every single rule I just read to you, some part of you has already been following it. Not because somebody handed you a list, but because you absorbed it slowly over years through comments and eye rolls and at least when you stood next to your husband and smiled and said nothing. Through the quiet but consistent message that your needs are a burden, your feelings are ungrateful, and your life, however hard it has been, is too comfortable to complain about. You didn't make those rules up. The world handed them to you one small moment at a time, and you, being the capable, adaptable, hold it all together woman that you are, you learned them. You followed them. Because that is what survival mode does. It takes the rules of the environment and it makes them your own. It convinces you that shrinking is wisdom, that silence is grace, that needing less is the same thing as being okay. It is not the same thing. You are not too much. You are not ungrateful. You are not a villain. You are a woman who has been carrying something heavy for a very long time in a world that keeps handing you more weight and calling it a blessing. And I want you to know something else. Those rules, they were never yours to follow, not one of them. You are allowed to be seen. You are allowed to be heard. You are allowed to have needs that exist independently of what your husband earns and what your house looks like and what anyone thinks about your life. You are allowed to matter to yourself first and then to everyone else. That is not whining. That is not an eye roll moment. That is a woman waking up inside her own life. And it gets better, not eventually, not when the comments stop or the schedule settles or the kids are older. It gets better now. I need a drink of soda. If you made it to the end of this episode, I see you. Thank you. I see you laughing at the rules that were just a little too specific to be funny. And I see you nodding along to the ones that landed a little too close. I see you because I have been you. And I want you to know that none of those rules were ever true. Not a single one of them. You are not decor. You are not a gold digger. You are not lazy or ungrateful or too visible or too loud. You are a woman who has given an enormous amount of herself to a life that doesn't always give a lot back. And you deserve to be seen for exactly that. If this episode found you at the right moment, if it said something you may have needed to say to someone for a while, will you do something for me? Will you leave a review for this podcast? Write a few sentences about what supporting position spouses means to you and why you keep coming back, because the women who need this most are still out there, still following rules that were never theirs to follow, still waiting for someone to tell them they don't have to. A review is how they find us. I will see you next week, and remember, it gets better, not eventually, it gets better now.